Krett? Really, Krett? Oh my god.
What up, guys? It's F. and Krett here on Really Tuesday, 5 p.m. Yep. And my name is Krett. Hi, it's nice to meet you. This is F. Tom Badger.
Hi, friends. Hi.
He's a big StarCraft fan.
Yeah, Pylons and Probes. I actually got it because it resembles other t-shirts, but I like it. All right, fine. Bart gave it to me for free, but
that's, to be honest, that's the way to get stuff.
I mean, to be fair, there was a shirt that said Forgate, and I totally knew what it meant. So I like.
Yo, shoutouts to the Forgate.
To the original cheese strat.
Yeah, that's true.
The original,
especially, man, my favorite 4Gate ever was like, it was in like an IEM finals, game 2, and Hero, who's just this like really skilled Protoss player who just does like sort of weird things, just 4-gated some kid, and he like won with it in like 5 minutes, and they're like, well, when you don't check for a 4-gate, you lose to a 4-gate.
So I know this 4-gate very, very well, and it's not because I'm some StarCraft historian. It's because I've heard you tell this story like 30 times.
It's so funny though, man. Sometimes cheese works. It's good to have in your arsenal, man. It's good to have in your arsenal.
I completely agree. Look at the Giannis drop ships that we've had.
Well, Giannis is just huge right now for whatever reason. I think it's basically because of zeros. To be honest.
Zydos. Dude, he just looks like a bird of prey.
He sounds like a hero from the Protoss campaign.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I can see that.
You know why, though, right? It's because he has a very long face.
I don't. Oh, God. This is why...
Yo, my kicks are hilarious.
Everything bad happens to you. Everything bad happens to you.
Yeah, man, so many bad things.
Anyway, so it's Wednesday. That's a lie. It's Tuesday. Week 6 is coming up. Only 7 weeks of the SPL, or at least in the summertime. So we've got 5 behind us. I missed week 4, which... Who gives a shit? Week 5 was cooler.
Yeah, it was. Week 5 was a good week. You picked a good one to miss. You know, I want to go off script a little bit. There's something that I just thought of that I think is an interesting conversation. Now, Hunters became a problem. The meta was kind of shitty. Something needed to change. Hi-Rez tried to budge the meta. And they tried to do it in such a way that, like, wouldn't fuck with stuff too much mid-split, which is fair. I think that's why they didn't, like, nerf lifesteal, right? Like, the entire Reddit has said, make crits not lifesteal, right? Like, the extra damage from a crit doesn't lifesteal. And, like, honestly, probably a good change for Hunter late game, but probably would fuck with stuff a little bit too much to do mid-split, if at all.
Exactly. I'm of the opinion, and I mean, like, when it comes to design, full transparency here, like, some of the members of the esports team, myself, get invited into, like, design meetings in the very beginning, where it's like, all right, we've got an idea for God of Watches, right?
Yeah.
And Fishman will come up with, like, here's the Wikipedia for him, here's some pictures, here's a design that, like, an art guy drew. What do you guys have planned? And it's like, it'd be cool if he could stop time, right? And he just, like, writes everything down. In fact, that's where Ratatasker's ability came from. Your boy Clumsy D recommended the Acorn, where he has an item by himself.
The item? Cool.
Yeah. So, like,
Clumsy Death, man.
So, like, we're not a part of the, like, design process. We don't get to be a part of that, but the conversation of designing these gods hits every aspect of Hi-Rez, whether it's art, esports, etc. So it's really cool. Very rare is it, like I said, for something like Clumsy for that to come out at the end of the character. It's more like a design idea. And the point of me saying this is, while we're not in the design room going, don't change shit mid-split, it's very much the sentiment of everyone in the esports section that, like, even if it's the right move, players work with what we give them, and to drastically change something in the middle of the split, even if it's to better the game, in most of our opinion, is worse, because you're used to playing, like, is 2 hunters, 3 guardians a fun meta? Well, the feedback says no. But if we change that in week 6, it's unfair to the teams that have really perfected the 2 hunter, 3 guardian meta.
Totally.
So, like, that's something that I personally feel really strong about, and there's a feeling about it. So, at the end of the day, the design team does what they want, but that is a thought. Like,
so here's my question, though, right? Like, I think Aussie was a slight nudge. I think Heartseeker was a slight nudge. I think Executioner was a slight nudge. And, you know, some people are like, well, but the Executioner nerfs affects more than just hunters. Yeah, but that item was fucking OP. Like, that item is so good. It's like, fine. It's an item that debuffs your opponents, doesn't stack between multiple people. You only ever get 3 stacks of Execution, no matter how many people have it, and it's still bought like 3 times per team. Like, it's a very good item. Yeah. So a slight nerf, fine. And the Witchblade buff, like,
keep the game fresh. That's part of esports. Like,
it is.
So yeah, like, part of esports is adapting to patches, but like, it'd be really whack if you guys logged in one day and it was like, well, hunters can no longer basic attack. It's like, what?
Yeah, like, one nerf that I was thinking about, I think I was, like, in the shower. I was like, yo, what if hunters stopped moving every time they fired a basic attack? For, like, just the duration of their precast. So they're less mobile.
It would be unfun.
Well, I mean, you're talking about, yeah, maybe. I don't know, but, like, just something like that to reduce their mobility or whatever, right? But, like, you couldn't do that mid-split. It would completely fuck with things.
Oh, yeah, it's a different game.
Witchblade buff, which actually, the Witchblade has an unlisted buff. It also increased its attack speed. 20% now. Pretty cool.
Witchblade's like my favorite item.
It's a good item.
The icon should just be a Swiss Army knife, I think. Because it does a little bit of everything.
No, that should be Soul Eater. But it's like a $5 Swiss Army knife.
It's not a Swiss Army knife. It's it's like an American.
It's like a pencil taped to a pair of scissors.
There you go. It's just like one of
pencil scissors.
Yeah, this is what they do. They get like everything here, and they're like, all right, this is a Soul Eater. They just wrap it up together. Like, all right, we got a Soul
Can't
Eater.
even use half of it. Yeah, but here's my point, though. The Blue Star nerf might have been a little bit more than everything else. I think the Blue Star nerf affected the game in a big way, and partially to sort of get hunters out of mid, which I think is something that Hi-Rez did want to address.
Yeah,
and it doesn't.
I
don't think it really affects warriors in the solo lane because like they were fine in season 1, but I think it really changes the way the duo lane works and changes the way you think about the duo lane. Which, I mean, I haven't talked to Zap because he's like asleep, and I've been streaming all day. But like, I feel like hunters are going to have to think about the duo lane in a very, very different way. Because conserving your mana is very important. Like there's this balance between like mana pots and like, for example, your wave gets pushed to your tower. The enemy hunter goes to do their purple buff. Last patch, you probably use Impale to clear that because you're like, fuck it, I don't want to take this. Now, I don't think you do. No, I think you're like, well, I have Death's Toll, and I've got Spike Gauntlet, so I'll just sort of sustain through this and lose some lane pressure in the future to keep my mana up. And like, I think it's like a fundamental change that is potentially bigger than you would want mid-split.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's bad, it's just sort of like, well, shit.
Yeah, I think it's a slight nudge, and this is what I always talk about with respects to the designers. I mean, there are things at the top end that present themselves that don't present themselves in the middle ground, right? And Hi-Rez playtests are very much the middle ground for the most part until they invite.
I've seen some of the other low ground playtests.
So like Pon and Clumsy D and Adonis and Peckies aren't allowed to playtest Smite anymore. They have to be specifically invited because people just get pissed off that they shit on everybody.
Well, and you can't really playtest like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what they do is they have like people that are trash at the game that'll play test. They have people that are right in the middle, and then you have people like Chris Larson that are sort of like where I'm at, where we're not masters level players, but we're far from the average player, right? Mm-hmm. Right in between, and that's the majority of the play tests. And then you see, and then the esports guys will come in and do their thing. And I think that the Bluestone nerf is one of those things that the change in the dual lane doesn't present itself in slightly above average play.
I agree,
Because
yeah.
you're just going to use that ability anyway and say, like, shit, I'm next time around. Whereas the top end, that's really where, that's where the viewing of the SPL comes into play for balance questions. That's where, like, pro feedback come in. So, like, it's a little tough.
That said, like, I think what does happen at mid to high level play is Apollo just becomes a god again. Like, Apollo is the new.
I'm okay with it.
I'm not, man. That god does
Apollo.
fucking everything.
I like Apollo.
Oh.
Okay, that's what I have a problem with. Serenade is pretty broken.
It's so good, man. It's so good. No, but so.
Do you remember when it gave protections?
It still does. It's only physical now.
Oh, yeah, it used to give both, like, it was 50 for both? What?
Yeah. Well, he was bad. Or people didn't play him well or something, so they gave him protections, and then man, Apollo's really strong. And so, like, it's hard to say where the ADC meta will settle, right?
It's very hard. I mean, nothing was changed from week 1 to week 5, and
there were changes. They just happened. There were meta changes, and I think there were mostly meta changes. There might have been a change I'm not remembering. Actually, if anything, I'd point at the Baka nerf. The Baka nerf brought out the prevalence of Guardians in the solo lane, which then sort of spilled into the jungle, which then shut down assassins, which then allowed hunters to come in. And so, and I've been saying this for a while.
Butterfly effect.
It's the butterfly effect, but we're not, like, this was not the hunter meta. This was never the hunter meta. It's the Guardian meta allowing you to have more hunters.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's why we see Loki show up more and more.
Yeah.
Shouts to Anatoly. Like,
Baskin to the face also just destroying us with it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Baskin did it 2 weeks ago, and totally played out of his mind with it this week. And it's just because I remember, just honestly, when I first started watching Smite, I just remember watching Zapman Hulk out about dying a Loki over and over and over and over and over. And, like, I just remember Lazarus and Shing being the only Loki players going, like, 16-0 with hyper-aggressive builds. We're talking Girdle of Power and Hydra's Lament type builds. So it's in this era where you have these hunters because of XYZ, Loki can come back and just
definitely
hilarious. I like Loki. Everybody hates him. It's kind of why I like him.
I mean, yeah, he's nice to have on your team. He is annoying as hell to play against. Although when you finally catch him and you get Loki in that situation where you know he's going to die, he knows he's going to die, and there's absolutely nothing he can do about it, that is probably the most gratifying kill in Smite.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I got you, you fucker.
Oh, and he's like, I'm over here.
And you know what the best thing for that is, though? The best move for catching people, in my opinion, is the banish. Because you're just floating up there from Freya. You're just floating up there. You're like, man, when I fall, I'm going to die. And there is nothing I can do about it. Oh, I love Banish.
It's very fun. That's why I really like the old Wukong Freya lane.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop! You just get stunned by the cat instantly.
Yep. Cat to the face.
Yep. Very, very fun stuff. So small tweaks in the middle have sort of like changed things.
And you know, that's really more of a question than anything, right? Like, are we going to see some deep changes to the way hunters are playing because they're probably not using Bluestone? They're probably switching to Deathstoll. They're probably switching to the Devo build again. Maybe seeing Transcendence, but probably not.
On Uller.
Even that, like, I played Uller today and I was fine. You just, like, conserve your mana. But I also wasn't landing against a hunter because it was Najah ADC, so, like, casuals, who knows?
Yeah.
I wasn't running out, though.
I think it'll go back to the way it always was, where it's just like Devo Gloves is the way to go. You can build Transcendence on Uller and other, like, ability-based hunters if you want, and it winds up being a wash, right? Like, I've never been of the camp that, like, Transcendence Uller is the absolute truth. Like, it allows you to clear the wave quicker and lets you spam your 3 more often, but you also have to wait an hour for lifesteal. So, You know,
And lifesteal's worse now because
style.
Aussie got nerfed. Well, not lifesteal's worse, but Aussie's worse.
Aussie specifically, which you're gonna be, you know, you're not gonna get Demo gloves. So I think it's one of those. I heard the term. I hate the term play style, and that's why I've liked the Hunter situation right now because it's pre Blue Star nerf. It is just play style. Either you're aggressive and think you're going to win and buy Heartseeker, or you're not and you buy Devo. And that's really cool to me. I think that's really, really cool. I think Transcendence is there as a play style if you want it, but I don't think it's as separate. Exactly. I don't think it's as good. We'll see where it goes, because that's the most fun about something like this, where we're going to see it change over time. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, but well, you know, I think our first conversation today has to be about. It does tie into last week in the SPL, but it's the iRaffer ban, right? Like,
yeah,
sort of unfortunate timing for the team. It was after Monday, so they couldn't add any subs to their roster, I believe is how that worked.
Yeah, so they were like given the opportunity, and they just basically couldn't find anybody in the. So you submit, the way the SPL works is you submit a roster on Monday, and that's your team. And so iRaffer got banned after Monday, which means they're not allowed to get a sub. Now, because the SPL is run by people and not robots,
right?
They did offer him, like, it was like 30 minutes, right? It's not a long time, but that's kind of unfortunate, like standard, right? That's what you get when you show up and Allied sleeping. You get a half hour to find somebody, and if not, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So we treated it the same way, and then, you know, unfortunately they're like first sub. So what happened was, this is actually a cool conversation. What happened was, in that situation, the sub has to be approved by both teams. So Epsilon played against Titan. Epsilon obviously approved of the sub because they're picking him, and Titan also has to say yes. The sub was Flurry Q, a player from the Challenger Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Spicy Waffles.
Spicy Waffles. We've seen him in professional play. He's a good enough player. So Flurry Q was scrimming with Titan the night before, like on their side. And so Epsilon was like, sweet, we've got Flurry Q, he's on our team, awesome, good deal, good shit, we're all good. And Titan was like, no. He knows our strats. You can't use him.
Yeah.
And so they didn't get to use him. They had to use a second string sub, which this actually prompted a tweet from me, because much like this is even more laughable, because so when people pauses in games, player DCs, team A uses their 2 pauses and team B doesn't pause for them, a lot of people in the community sit there and go, oh, that's BM, you should be more sportsmanlike, and I always laugh. And I'm usually, unfortunately, a minority. Well, they had the same conversation this time around, where people said it was very unsportsmanlike of Titan to say no. And I just tweeted, and I stand by this, sportsmanship will never mean putting yourself at a disadvantage. And so... yeah,
in fact, it's unsportsmanlike.
Exactly. I think that it was just very, very silly for anybody. And to be very clear, I don't think anybody on the actual team of Epsilon felt that way, that it was whack. I could be wrong, maybe they did, but for what it's worth, I think it's just the fans, which I implore you people out there, like, that's to just think about that for a second. He's Flurry Q screamed with the team before, he knows all the secrets. That would be very, very bad for Titan going into that. So that to me was a big duh, and I was very surprised that people spoke out about it. So I don't know. I don't think there's a large conversation there. It's just that sportsmanship never means putting yourself at a disadvantage. That's silly.
I mean, either way, like, it's Titan has the ability to say no. And if there's any reason where they think, like, this sub is not on the level, and they say no, like, that's legit. If they have pretty much any reason.
They can say no, we just don't like him.
Yeah.
Like, there doesn't have to be a reason. Like, it doesn't have to be a good reason. This time around, they had a good reason.
Yeah.
But and just so you know, if I would still be on the side of the team that said no, if there was no other reason besides the fact that the guy was good. If like, I don't know, if Jeff Hela quit Smite, moved to Europe, right? and Jeff Hindler was the sub, I would say no.
Yeah, hell no.
Because he's Jeff Hindler. He's real good. Fuck you and your good player, right? Like, that's exactly how I feel about it. So I think it's I think the team is totally in their right to go ahead and say no. And for whatever reason this time around, I think it was a good one. So
yeah. Well, that's why your team should have a rostered sub. And that's also why, there's the second part of the conversation is you shouldn't get banned. And iRaffer did tweet out, he apologized, and then he tweeted out like an addendum to his apology where he explains or he quotes what he said to get him banned, which was like a few things in over the past 3 to 4 weeks. Which I will now quote now. This is from iRaffer's Twit Longer. 1. Shut the fuck up, please. 2. You're a fucking idiot, Geb. 3. You're so fucking bad. 4. You're so fucking shit. 5. No, go fuck off back to co-op, cause you're a fucking bronzy, that's why. Fucking weight's on my back. Now, like...
Oh, man.
That's not something that's, like, horrible, right? Like, he didn't, like, insult somebody's mom.
Or make any racial or super red flag stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, and I'm the number one guy for get a thicker skin, toughen up. In fact, there was a Reddit thread today that said, is laughing BM, and in all my Hi-Rez orange named glory, just laughed at him and, like, insinuated that he was silly. I think this is bannable material, because there's a big difference between friendly or even not so friendly, like, I'm better than you against an enemy team or whatnot, but when you're just putting somebody down, that's not good stuff. It's and when it's, I think it's more that it's a habit when it's repeated. Yeah. If, everybody has a bad day. I think if all you had was that last message, I think if all you had was, get the fuck out of my game, you bronzy scrub, go back to co-op, I don't think there would have been a ban. But I think the fact that he spends the entire game just like, you're bad, 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 that's what looks really shitty.
Yeah. And, like, it's a pattern of behavior. In the Twit Longer, he says 3 to 4 months. He actually then goes back and corrects himself in a later tweet saying 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But basically it's just sort of like, you probably shouldn't say that to people. Like, especially if you're a pro player. Like, part of your brand is who you are and how you treat people. And, like, you probably, like, someone gets in the game with you, they're probably, cool, pro player, and you probably shouldn't call them a bronzy feeder idiot.
Yeah,
because that sucks.
I mean, I'm not even a pro. I'm a commentator, right? But I'm attached to the scene, and, like, it sucks. But that's something I think about.
Well, the other thing to remember is, like, if someone gets into your game and they're playing, like, ROM ADC, throwing dagger into meditation, feeding their brains out, they're probably just, like, out of their league, and they shouldn't be in your game. And, like, matchmaking made a mistake, or they haven't played in 3 years. Like, maybe they were, like, the single best player in week 2 of the beta, and then they just haven't played since then. Or something weird. But, like, they probably shouldn't be in your game.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I came back from vacation. And decided it was a smart idea to boot up ranked.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna be good.
Dude.
Yeah,
dude, it was.
You shouldn't boot up ranked in the first place.
No, I mean, like, I routinely have been going into these gold games and just, like, shitting on everyone because I'm not a pro, but I'm far better than gold. And after a week and a half of not playing, I went in and I was like, I played something straight. I played, like, solo lane, who gives a damn. I played solo Kronos against an Upwatch, a character that I haven't played against, haven't really watched too much. And I died like 4 times in 3 minutes in ranked, streaming it. And I was like, well, guys, I'm having fun. I'm going to think about not waking up tomorrow. Like, it was just a horrible feeling. So, like, it happens. People, for whatever reason, they're in your game. But, in that game, I couldn't. Not that I would, because I died largely to my own self, right? But let's say I was being ganked by the enemy jungler, and your jungler needs to respond and they don't. Being Mr. Hi-Rez, I can't be like, you piece of shit, why aren't you ganking, you bronze scrub? Like, I have a certain...
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. As an employee, I'm definitely held to a different standard, but our pro players aren't held to a different standard as far as finding you out, and I'll explain that in a second, but it should be, in my opinion, personal opinion, there should be some sort of personal, like, you should be held to a slightly higher standard. The argument is always that athletes and gamers or whatnot don't ask to be role models, and I'm not saying you need to be a role model, but you just probably calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, like, it's a game. You probably shouldn't call people shit or idiots, because that's kind of rude. And, like, you're, like, a big part of succeeding in esports is your brand, your public image, your team's public image, their brands, and calling people feeders is not good in MOBAs, at least. Like, if that's what you want to do, Call of Duty. That's, like, all Call of Duty Twitter is.
Just call Keemstar.
Yeah. So, but it's also interesting to see the sort of stuff that Hi-Rez will hand out a harassment ban for, right?
And it's important, because I saw somebody in chat asking, I wonder what made Hi-Rez, like, look at his account. Same thing that makes Hi-Rez look at anybody's account. I mean, I personally know the guys in support, and a couple of them are into the SPL, but obviously nowhere near the level that the esports team is, or the players, right? So there's a chance that they don't know who the hell iRaffer is. You know, I don't know specifically who the guy that pushed the ban button, but there's a very big chance that he just got banned. Like, the dude banning him didn't know he was iRaffer, or that he played for Epsilon. Because there is no, like, I'll tell you right now, there's no pro player audit. There's no, you know, this guy's specific. It's just everybody gets reported, right? And the way the report system works, when you get reported a bunch, you get looked at. And when you get looked at, you might get banned. And you're treated like every other person. So there is no special treatment giving to a pro at all. At all. You know what I mean? It's just, which, for better or for worse, some people argue, well, if I'm a fan of the SPL, I don't want to see my pro players get banned for, like, calling somebody retarded is a good in-between word, right? Some people are highly offended by it. Other people are, I grew up with that word. Who cares, right? But so the same can be said about a lot of other words. So, I mean, like, you can sit there and say, I don't want my pro player to be banned for saying that word. But on the other hand, that's, like, it's holistic. It has nothing to do with the individual pro. It has everything to do with the scenes. So,
well, the other thing is, like, man, there's this big Reddit thread about Raffer being BM. Right, and it's no secret that Hi-Rez guys read Reddit. I mean, Reddit has a lot to say about Smite. But here's the thing: if someone, like, goes into, if one of the support guys went into Reddit and it's like, wow, this guy's being really BM, let me pull up his account and look at it. Like, oh, there's a pattern of harassment. Like, is that legit?
I mean, it's very. I mean, because you can make the same thread about a non-pro.
Yeah, you can.
And I would employ, like, because, like I said, reports. You know, Ependary said it, not every report is looked at. The most reports are looked at. I don't know the intricate in and out system, but I do know it's pretty fair. And that's not coming from Mr. Hi-Rez. That's coming from, like, a dude that's seen these guys do their work. You know, there are red flags put on super big things like threats and homophobia and racism, etc., that get sort of skipped to the top, and, you know, very obvious stuff. And that's all I'm really privy to. I don't know the ins and outs of the system, but you know, for example, I mean, if somebody was just coming at me all the time, telling me to, like, kill myself or something, I don't care if he's a pro or not. I'm probably going to put that on Reddit or somewhere public, Twitter, etc. And you know what? The support guy that sees that is going to be like, wow, let me check this dude out. Because he's a human being, you know. It's so. I mean, I actually don't think that that's how Raffer was banned.
I feel like
I wouldn't have a beef.
Like, I feel like it probably was just because of coincidence. Like, it was, like, within 24 hours.
Right.
But, like, might not have been. Maybe it was just coincidence. Doesn't really matter because the point was someone looked at his account and was like, oh, this guy's being a dick. And, like, click the button.
Yeah, I mean it's totally. I mean full disclosure. Like I have.
Actually, you know what though? You can't put it on Reddit because it's witch hunting if it's not a pro player.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
So that makes things different, but like it's not a Hi-Rez reason that makes it different.
It's a Reddit reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you go ahead and you tweet that shit out.
Yeah, there you go. You can tweet that out.
Or you put it on your own personal Angel Fire website.
Live journal. It's just a live journal list of all the people who call you shitters.
Hey, live journal lists of all the people that call you shitters have been banned since like April 20th. It's not a good idea to put a list of people you don't like publicly on the internet.
That's also
all
true.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You can definitely get in trouble for that. So don't do that. But you know, making things public and making things bigger. Like I said, full disclosure, I have totally I got into a ranked game and I was on Curse and dude was just like, hey man, are you F. from the SPL? And I was like, yeah. And he just goes, sorry, I'm going to use offensive word reel. And he was just like, cool, you're a faggot. And I was like, what? And so for the next 40 minutes, he consistently called me that word, bunch of other words, called me fat, and then made fun of
He called you
DM
fat?
Brandon. Yes.
That's rude.
And then made fun of DM Brandon. And I was just like, and it wasn't the stuff that you would expect people to give DM Brandon crap for. It was like, he was like, yeah, man, DM Brandon's hair is really lame. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? And then he just called me gay and told me that Brandon was my boyfriend.
I ship it, actually. So
I didn't really like that.
Yeah.
Because I had to deal with it for like 45 minutes. So, full disclosure, I called up my buddy in support, was like, can you look at this? I can't ban somebody. That's not how Hi-Rez works.
Yeah.
But I can tell the dudes that can ban to look at that guy.
And to be honest, that guy was probably being a dick, because the guy is a dick.
That's exactly what happened. Support got back to me 2 days later and was like, that guy was human garbage. I banned like 3 of his accounts. He has like, you know, supported like being a neo-Nazi in his previous chat logs. Like, he smoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, there, you know, that's... Nobody has the power to ban people, but making things public and bringing light to things totally can, you know, start a fire. So be nice, and if you're a pro player, be nicer than you should be.
Well, and you should be nice because you're trying to promote yourself and you want people in the community to like you.
Exactly.
I tweeted this out a while ago, and it wasn't about iRaffer, but it does like relate. Like when you get in a game with a pro player and you're some fucking rando, you're like stream viewer number 87, and if you somehow get in a game with MLC Stealth, that should be an awesome game.
Yeah,
right? You should enjoy yourself.
Fun. And that's one of the things that separate us from traditional sports is that I can, and I won't say never, because this becomes a marketing thing where, I mean, Kyrie Irving did this for a while, where he dressed in disguise and showed up to like the playground where people are playing basketball and like played ball, then took off the disguise and everybody's like, oh, but like the ability to just get in a game with somebody you watch all day is unique to esports for the most part, and that should be awesome. You should not, somebody made the illusion on Reddit, if you're playing soccer at the park, it'd be really messed up if if Ronaldo came up to you and was like, dude, you suck, pass the ball. Like,
yeah, that'd be really shitty.
In the world, and I'm getting over my like mac and cheese short of breathness over here. Like, you practice all day, you play all day, you make money from this game. I like finished the SAT test and logged on and got in a game with one of my idols. Let me be. Don't shit on me. Like, it's, you know, so it becomes a very interesting conversation because I'm always the guy that's like, athletes and pro and celebrities don't have to be role models. Well, I maintain that you don't have to be role models, but a level of decency. DM Brandon is loved and hated in this community for being a bad guy, but he doesn't cross lines. Like hard homophobia, racist. Those are the lines I'm talking about, right? Like,
sure.
Like, people, like I said, you don't have to be a role model. People don't have to be a nice person. I'm not telling you have to be a nice person, but just don't be a trash person.
But like, just going back to the Raffer log. Shut the fuck up, please. You're a fucking idiot. You're so fucking bad. You're so fucking shit. No go fuck off back to co-op because you're a fucking bronzy. That's why 2 fucking weights on my back. That's not crossing a line. He called people stupid in a variety of different ways, but that's all he did.
I think it's the amount. That's what bothers me.
Maybe.
I think it's the amount. Like I said, if he had just been like, go back to co-op, you bronzy scrub, you fucking idiot, right? I think that's not bannable. But it's the fact that he's just coming out like a Gatling gun. You're dumb, you're stupid, you're dumb.
But that's
stupid,
5 different instances.
Sure.
Over 3 to 4 weeks. There probably were more.
Exactly.
So, we don't know what the pace is, but and maybe part of it is like there's definitely this sort of like seeming bias, right? And I want to jump back up to something someone in chat said, and I'm not picking on this guy, but I do want to call him out on his bullshit a little bit. So, Ob3000 said, I've only been banned once, and as a coincidence, it was BM against someone on 5 Angry Hindus, which is, like, the fan clan for Hindu Man.
I remember that.
So, like, maybe that's a coincidence, quote-unquote. Maybe it's not. It shouldn't matter. Don't harass people.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And as a further point, it's, if someone is trying to incite you, mute them.
Yeah.
If someone's like, your team is bad, you're garbage, you're the worst mid laner in the world, and I'm mad you, like, stole my FP, mute them and report them after the game, and don't start that fight. And if you want to say anything, tell them to look at your bank account, because you're a pro player.
Yeah, I mean, that's what has triggered me in the past. I use the word trigger. Oh, hold on, I gotta make a Tumblr account real quick.
You do.
That's what's gotten me in the past, where I join a game and like, I don't know, I will mention something about anything. Be like, shut up, you're a bad cast, you don't know anything about the game. Adonis is cooler than you.
Yeah.
Like, that pushes all of my buttons. Every single one.
Right.
And,
so like, now I know what to say to you.
You're a piece of shit.
I know.
But like, as a pro player, you dedicate hours and hours of your day to being so good at this, and somebody like tells you you're bad at it, that's gonna rough you up. Not my entire existence, right? But a large part of my existence is work. And guess what my work is? Being a commentator and knowledgeable about the game, etc. So when you shit on that, that's like attacking my inner core. And I have definitely taken the bait in the past and been yelled at for it at work. So now it's just about the mute button. It's just, man,
as Flairboot said it, man. When you think you could get mad, just mute everybody. Mute enemy team too. If you mute someone, you disable their taunts, you disable their laughs. Which is the best fucking thing.
It's
thank fucking
and I
God.
used to be the guy that's like, I don't want to mute because that's like, I want to see what they say or whatever, but I'm over it. I think it's much better to just play the game. And to quote, I mean, it's a cliche at this point, but I always give credit to Midtown, the mediocre pop punk band from the early 2000s. Living well is the best revenge. So when somebody doesn't like you or is just pissing you off, I know it sounds very Mr. Rogers, but like, being happy and dope about everything is just gonna piss them off more than you coming at them. So like
Totally. The other thing that was mentioned in chat is like the clause in the SPL contract that's like, if you're a pro player, don't be a dick. Which honestly sounds just more like a, like, if you're racist on Twitter, we can ban you clause more than anything.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's just...
The intention is probably like, if you're racist on Twitter, we can ban you or, bar you from competitive play, really. Not really ban from Smite, because, like, whatever, and then like the rest of that is basically covered by the in-game suspension, harassment, etc. system. But the other thing I wanted to talk about when I mentioned the guy in chat was also like, this is a MOBA community. There are a lot of players and a limited number of game masters. I don't know what they're called, but game masters, right? Like, they're not gonna get to everyone.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And like, that's just sort of something that like is like cognitive bias, right? Like, that guy Death Creeps from Ranked, right?
Oh my god.
He might have gotten banned a few times. I don't know, but he keeps showing up in ranked games, and I'm like, how is this guy still not banned? And maybe it's just like repeated offenses and him not getting to people, and maybe the stuff he's saying isn't getting pushed along by people who could push it along. But like, the guy's a dick. He's not getting banned as much as...
Is he still around?
I think so. He's got a variety. He's got multiple accounts as well. But like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still around. I'm pretty sure he's like high rank in Masters.
Word.
And it's like, you know, I guess my question is like, how is this guy still not banned? But like, the answer is pretty obvious. There's a lot of people, a lot of reports, and when you're waiting 1730 in queues, like, you don't have that many chances to BM people anyway.
Yeah, and it can also be lack of reports. I mean, I've spoken to a number of players that unfortunately don't have faith in the report system because they reported one asshole twice and they saw him in their very next game. Like,
well, first of all, it wouldn't work that fast, but I mean,
exactly.
That is also like a thing, though, right? Like, the report system doesn't tell you that it's working.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, whether it should or should not is, I mean, I don't know of a report system in any game that does.
It says someone you have harassed or someone you have reported has been banned.
Word. I mean, that's the only game that I know of. I've never played a different, and like, I don't know. There's got to be a downside to it. I would have to think about it before I really took a stance on it because it sounds like there's some deep psychology involved, and there's got to be some way to like mess with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, I have the luxury of being able to like eat lunch with the support team. So I know they exist, right? When you don't like know they exist, it's very easy to be like, well, I banned this guy once, and I reported this guy once, and he wasn't banned the next day, so they don't look at their reports. And I'm telling you, flat out right
to be fair,
it works.
They do, and it works, but like, I know it works because I know Austin exists, right? And you know it works because you know he exists. But like, if I'm just some guy, if I haven't been to the Hi-Rez office, I have no fucking way to know the report system exists aside from like iRaffer getting banned.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know,
and Mask, iRaffer and Mask,
to be able to tell you, like, yeah, it totally works. And when you report a guy once and they're not banned, well, it's working.
iRaffer in chat is confirmed that it works.
iRaffer in chat confirms that it works. So I mean, like, it's what's it called? It's very it's a lot of it has to do with frequency of report, and how rough the report is, right? So never ever not report somebody if you deem it's worthy. It is always worth it, because if you report that guy 5 times by yourself, the report team's gonna notice. Like, it will be like I said, I don't know the intricacies of it, but it works, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
By repeatedly reporting people.
It's a pattern of behavior. Someone once said to me, "I got a 1-year ban on my account. I can't play it anymore." And the higher support team said it was for going AFK, and that's bullshit. And I'm like, how is that bullshit? How do you get enough people reporting you for going AFK to create a pattern of behavior of you going AFK if you're not going AFK? Like,
and it's one of those things as well where it's I mean, it winds up just doing what it's supposed to do, because everyone has a bad day.
Yeah.
And if you come, if random person in the chat, 0 to Hero 96, if you come home from school one day and Hulk out, in a game and just go, you garbage piece of nonsense, I hate you, right? And you just lash out one game, I don't think you should be banned. And
you should do it though, and you're a dick.
No,
at least in that
shouldn't.
instance.
Right. You're a dick in that instance, so you shouldn't do it. But I don't think you should be banned for that. But and you will get reported. So you get reported that one time, and you don't get banned from it. But if you come home from school every single day, and you're that guy every single day, now we're talking about something different, right? So like that, it's also the level of which, if you come home one day and threaten to kill somebody and make fun of somebody's race, you should be banned, and you probably will, because it's a number of red flags. But you know, the average player with a bad day isn't the person getting banned. It's the person that's every single game telling everybody that they're horrible time and time again. It's the player using racial slurs. That's the guy that gets banned. So, I mean, again, the support team is human, and they understand that, like, bad days happen. And if they look at your account and you're helping people, and then one game you're an asshole, and then you're helping people, they're going to be like, all right, like, his dog died. Yeah. We're not going to ban him. You know, you might get like a 12-hour suspension because chill out. You're that mad. You need to chill and step away from the game. But the bans happen to people that deserve it, you know? So I don't know. The support is very, very strange. Just please have faith in the system that it works, because it only works if you do it. If you give up and don't report people, they won't get banned.
And actually, though, this is a greater problem than just Smite. And
of course,
you know, every MOBA community is shit. I was playing Heroes of the Storm the other day, and someone got mad at me, and I'm like, homie, this game doesn't even have kills. Why are you getting mad at me? I'm just trying to watch YouTube videos. Because that's me playing Heroes of the Storm. I'm like watching a YouTube video about my favorite Irish traditional music band and like right-clicking. The Chieftains.
Oh, wow, I love the Chieftains.
Do you actually love the Chieftains?
Yeah.
I saw them when I was in college. They were great, and my mom knows Patty Maloney, and yeah.
I'm not surprised at all that the kid that went to philosophy college in Connecticut likes traditional Irish music.
I've been to Ireland like 9 times. I have spent like at least a total year of my life in Ireland, just on vacation. I love it. Great country. We have a potato drawer in the Eager house. It's just a drawer full of potatoes. That's where we store them. Anyway.
Oh my God, you guys are so stark.
That's true. But yeah, so like this is a bigger problem. And in chat also someone mentioned like this situation where like a hunter was like, hey support, I don't think you warded in a great spot. I think it would be better if you warded here. And the guy muted him and everybody else. Now, maybe that guy's dog just died and he was in a bad mood and didn't want to lash out. But assuming that didn't happen and he was just like, this guy's shit-talking me, blah, 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 right? Like, the reason he feels that way is because of how MOBA communities are, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, if someone criticizes your play at all in a MOBA community, your gut reaction is that they are shit-talking you. And they're probably not. Yeah.
Like, I have offered advice to people, and I mean, like I said, especially after I was probably nicer before I got hired, to be completely honest with you. Just for the whole maybe case, right? But like, before I was hired, after I was hired, I worked for the company of the game I'm playing right now. I'm not allowed to be a douchebag, right? Like, I'm representing the people that make this game. So when I offer tips, you guys can know that I offer them straight up. So it's like, we'll get into the game and healers, we need weakening, you know, and I'll just be like, hey, Sun Wukong, you're probably the one that should probably buy weakening curse. It works out because of this reason, right? And I've totally been like, shut up, man, I know how to itemize. And then I have also been the guy that, like, I've graciously taken something and people think I'm being sarcastic, where they're like, oh, you know, Hunter, like, one of my biggest things, I always overextend in the long lane as a hunter, always, and I die for it, right? And somebody will be like, look, man, you can't walk up that far without ward, and be like, yeah, you know what, you're right, my support's on the other side of the map, I need to be buying wards. I'm not being like, yeah, my support's on the other side of the freaking map, like an idiot. I guess I'll buy the wards. I'm going like, Yeah, I mean, he's roaming. It makes more. I need to buy some more wards. My bad. But it's always taken. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, chill out.
Like I was agreeing with you. Like we agree.
There's always that like, wait, you're not a douchebag? Hey, high five, right? Like,
yeah.
it becomes so like high five. You find that nice guy. And you always, unfortunately, I'm always so surprised when there's a nice, when somebody takes my tips like graciously. Oh, I didn't think about that. I should buy Blink in this situation against an Odin. Good call. I always want to give that guy a hug because that dude like doesn't exist.
Yeah, totally. He doesn't. I mean, like, I don't know. It's so weird the way that there's this like pattern of toxicity in mobile communities, so that you never assume that anyone's complimenting you. It's so.
Yep.
It's so.
The amount
awkward.
of times I have said, "Nice play," and been greeted by defensive.
Yeah, like
maneuvers.
fuck you, man.
It's like, dude, what the hell? I did everything I could. No, I know. You killed 3 of them before you died.
Like, that was a nice play. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were making... Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
The other thing...
But that's how it is.
Oh my god, I keep forgetting what I'm gonna try and say. Oh, yeah. The other thing is, like, the people that you're playing with, like... If you see someone you're playing with just being a dick to somebody, be like, dude, what are you doing? Right? like talk to them.
Yeah.
Because like what they're doing isn't cool. Hell, report them.
Yeah.
Like I have done that before. Because like you're being a dick, you need to stop. And they're like, no, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll fucking report you. You're being a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have any place. It doesn't help anything. And I mean, if you want me to get armchair psychologist on you, being mean doesn't. You will never help your team by putting somebody down. Ever. If you're real, like, and if you go to the root of this problem, you're mad because this guy is preventing you from winning because he sucks. You know what's better? Giving a tip to maybe make this guy not suck and win. Because even if you like give a backhanded like, well, if you weren't so stupid, you'd have beads against an Ares. You know what I'm going to say? Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm going to buy beads, but I'm not going to save you. I don't like you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive for you.
Oh, yeah. No, if you're in casuals and you see, like, if you're in casuals and someone says something like that to you, like, dude, you need to buy beads. You've been ganked twice. What are you, a fucking idiot? And then they go Ares ult into 5 people and I'm Scylla and I've got, like, the perfect opportunity. I'm a monster. Like, I'm just going to walk away, man.
Yep. And
like,
let him get murdered by 5 people surrounding him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, it's, yeah, man, it's just acting like a person, treating people respect, and, like, if your friends are being dicks, don't let them. And if someone's trying to make you mad, just mute them.
Yeah.
Like, that, if I see someone who I even expect is going to rage, I just mute him at this point. Like, if I see someone, like, playing Thanatos and they solo invade red buff and die, and they're like, oh, fucking great, mute. Like, I know what happens next. We all know what happens next.
Yep. Yep. Like,
and that's why I have Totally muted all the time.
You guys mute Totally during games?
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
I'd like to think you guys booted Totally out of Mumble during the game you guys played against Cloud9. Is that how that works? Because Totally was on a different level, like completely.
No, that we actually let him in Mumble for once there. Yeah. So let's. I think. Well, let's wrap up this conversation. Is there any last words? Anything you want to say to just sort of get in the last word in this argument? Not
really. I mean, like, this has been just don't be a dick. I mean, like, iRaffer, I think, has been very gracious about it. He's like, look, you know, I won't do that anymore. I shouldn't do that, and, you know, put out a great apology and power to him. Still streaming next week, hopefully. Cool ass dude. Definitely, like, learned a lesson. So, I mean, all of you non-pro players out there should do the same. Like, there's just no reason to be
and keep reporting people, too, because the system does work. Like,
yeah, that's probably my last one.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Do
it. Because it
doesn't
work.
take any time.
Yeah, and it will.
Write a message if
Guarantee
you
it.
can, but if someone's just being a dick, just report them. Like, you don't even need to write a message. It's just numbers, and there is a pattern to his behavior, probably. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one
if
instance,
it's
which is
something
fine.
huge and egregious, right? You know, like
Yeah.
this guy called me the N-word or something. Like, put that in there. But if it's just like general assholishness, just report. I mean, if you just write iRaffer in the subject of your report, we get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to our next topic.
Yeah, we actually have a guest here. We have a guest here for we're going to talk a little bit about Cloud9.
Wait, let me put up the transition screen so we can get our guests on. All right, so I'm gonna put up the screen, and
Sounds
let's
good.
bring it back down and reveal our guest, SPO professional coach.
Krett.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, I'm Krett. I'm the professional coach for Team Eager, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have you on the show for once. We normally have this other guy, sort of a ex-commentator named Krett. This time around, we have a current SPL coach, Krett. Really cool to have you on the program. Welcome.
Hey man, it's a pleasure. Good to be here. I always watch your show. I always retweet it.
Awesome.
Especially because I have a nice number of Twitter followers, and then I also retweet the YouTube video when you put it up, and I also watch it 3 times.
That's awesome. Really glad to hear the support. And I support you guys. I usually I like to retweet some of your tweets as well. So welcome to the show. Very happy that we finally have you on here to really talk about it. Your team Eager has been in the middle of things, and I have been publicly on the, I don't want to say like Eager hype train because there's no biasm, but I have bought this. Shut up, okay?
Is that any way to treat a guest?
You philosophy.
No, I'm leaving.
Stop. Like, there's no bias or anything, but I have bought this team from the get-go. I have bought this roster from the get-go, even when it had a roar, and learning the change.
And actually, you know what? No. Don't say even when we had Aurora. Aurora was a great player. Like,
no, he
was
really
really good. It just didn't end up working out. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I was upset when you guys picked up Polar Bear Mike, and I understood because I spoke to you about it. Just things behind the scenes, it doesn't gel. If you guys want more on that conversation about how important gel is, you can check out some of the older episodes on YouTube.
Or you can check out f.cell. Hair. Sorry. Gel.
I don't have any gel in it, actually.
I can tell. It's really important, though. You should have gel in it.
Anyway, so, I've liked this team from the get-go. But you guys have, as far as your win-loss record is concerned, have been solidly middle of the pack.
Sure.
You finally have a win to really parade around, I guess you could say. Cloud9 was undefeated
and we did
until you guys came. So, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were middle of the pack. But we were middle of the pack with, like, I want to say a higher win chance than other middle of the pack teams, right? Like, we were going into the TSM games, at least game 1 for TSM and AFK, and we were getting closer than maybe other teams in the same situation. Now, Legion of Carrots being the exception, that game was like crazy close for I don't know what they've been putting in their carrots, but we've had close games, and so it's a good middle of the pack for us. It's a middle of the pack that we can be proud of, to whatever extent you can be proud when you lose, because we know that we're doing well, we know where we can improve, and we can go into a game, we can play like shit, and we can almost beat TSM while doing it. And then we can say, look at all these mistakes we've made. We've got so much we can do better. And yeah, look at our bank accounts.
I mean, that's really been what I've seen. I've seen adjustments, and I've seen one of the coolest things, I think, was you guys were one of the first teams to bring Neath mid out. And I think whether or not a win came out of these is irrelevant. You guys brought Neath to the mid first, and you guys stepped away from the Bazillion Hunter meta first. Which is really cool. You guys, is that something you guys consciously do, or is that just naturally where you guys have, do you consciously try to be a step ahead of the meta?
I mean, like,
because that's what it seems like.
So meta is weird because generally
For sure.
what happens, and not always, is the game has a meta, and eventually someone's going to come up with a counter meta, right? Which I think to an extent is what TSM and C9 were able to do at playoffs last year, and what they were able to repeat. Well, they weren't TSM and C9, but at the time, but whatever, fuck you. What they were able to repeat at Worlds. And then what AFK was able to do at Spring Finals, right? Where they were able to get to the next meta. And that's really good. Now, so you have a meta, and then some team gets the next meta, which counters it to whatever extent. Or maybe it doesn't counter it, right? Maybe you've got the current meta is something standard, and you'd say that like the next meta is a departure, a change, which is I think what happened when we went from Guardian support, Hunter ADC, Assassin jungle, Mage mid, Warrior solo, right? Guardian solos into like Guardians everywhere with Hunters, whatever, was a departure, was a weird meta. So I don't want to say it was a counter meta, it was like a new meta, it was a replacement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say the Loki was not a counter meta because it's just a single god, but a step in that direction where, all right.
Right, and that's sort of what I'm saying, right? So when you have a meta that is very precise or very atypical, like the Guardian Hunter bullshit that's happening right now, eventually, hopefully, someone will come up with a counter meta. I mean, it would be really strange to have a meta that's like so strong that there is no counter, right? Like, there's got to be something. So eventually,
that's what separates it. That's what makes it able to be a competitive game, as opposed to just like this is the best.
Yeah. So you get. Then you like try and figure out the counter meta. Now in our case, for Guardians and Hunters, we were part of what started that, and we think that we can play it better than the other teams. So that's just what we do.
Yeah.
And we're not worried about the counter meta, but it would be silly to say we're not thinking about it.
Of course.
And we're not thinking about how to counter that.
I mean, that's why they pay you the big bucks.
Right. So basically, it's something that TSM and C9 have done. It's something that we in AFK do. It's called meta leapfrogging, right? We're like, what happens in pro games is played here, and then in scrims, you're playing at the next level, and then you just sort of keep going until you have to like bring the levels or the metas down and like shift it back for what you're doing in your SPL games.
That's incredible, man. I mean, I'm sure everybody at home has...
It is. That said, that sounds like really intentional, and to an extent, it's like kind of just happenstance. We're just like, yo, what if we run Neath mid? Or what if we play Athena jungle? Like Dare used to do that, and Lassus did that. Like that was kind of good, right? So you just sort of stumble. You just sort of stumble into it sometimes, but sometimes you do like think about it a little bit more. So you know,
see, that's really cool to me and the people at home, because I'm sure you lost some people, and that's exciting to me. A lot of times, people can look at Smite and say it's a very simple game, and in some respects it is. For all of the items and mathematics that are that are concerned at the high level of SPL, it can also be a very simple, like, well, Hunter's crit, so pick him, right? And what seems very simple and surface level, it's very, very cool to know that there's a 12-cylinder engine working behind it. There's an R&D department in each team, or each successful team, I should say. Shots fired. Each successful team has an R&D department, and whether or not it gets employed into a game is different. And I think we see that a lot. I think one of the most, and I want to hear your input on this as an SPL coach, Krett. I think one of the most overused platitudes by the uninformed is troll comp. Specifically when talking about top-level teams going against bottom-level teams. I'm specifically talking about when Trig played Stars and lost because they played Poseidon ADC with control items and things like that. That, to me, after hearing what you just said about your R&D department working, sort of creating metas in these dungeons of team scrims, the next level, rather than bring it up against, like, the team you're going to land for or the all or nothing game, you play it against the 8th seeded team because that should be an easier game. Is that how you start to employ it in the SPL?
Not necessarily. Well, it depends. first of all, I guess my point is that, like, and I think you touched on this, but I just want to explain it. I think there is a fundamental difference between two kinds of teams, right? There's a professional team and a challenger team, and that differentiation is not just Challenger Cup and Smite Pro League, right? Like, up until recently, I would call Upcoming Stars a challenger team, because they were trying to challenge the other teams, but they weren't playing on their same level, and that seemed clear. And a challenger team is thinking, what can we do to catch up to, you know, like, so Noble is saying, what can we do to catch up to TSM? What can we do to catch up to AFK, right? Whereas a professional team like Legion of Carrots is saying, what can we do to get ahead?
I'll agree with that. And yeah, that's a cool.
You know, sometimes getting ahead does catch you up, right? Which I think happened for Upcoming Stars. I think they hit the Guardian stride a little bit faster than the other U teams, which to an extent helped them catch up and help them sort of perform above and beyond, but I don't want to credit entirely to that. So what was your other question? What was your actual question? That I totally derailed.
No. That was the question. Really was how do you employ these sort of like underground
troll comps,
it's not really
right?
A troll comp, and I think it would do a lot of our viewers service to sort of explain that, you know, like, I sat up there and said, like, so flabbergasted that no professional team would troll on a professional level. Like, that's not what happens.
Now, I think you could argue that the way AFK picked in the third game of the Brazilian finals was a troll comp. I think that's that's your point of argument, so let's just dismiss it.
It's also an exhibition.
It is an exhibition. And let's just sort of dismiss that, right?
Yes, completely. I think we should.
But what you can say is there's something called a stomp comp, and this is something that I think was best displayed by now AFK, formerly Melios More, formerly Complexity, during the qualifications for the spring split. Every game in qualifications, they played a stomp comp, and they won nearly every game because they're really good at stomp comping. And to an extent, I think you could argue that Trig against Upcoming Stars were trying to run a stomp comp, right?
Yeah.
Where
definitely.
you can run something like maybe at first Neath mid. Now everyone realized that this is actually really fucking good. Or Arachne. Arachne's the perfect character for a stomp comp because she gets super far ahead, and then what the fuck do you do? Right? If you don't know exactly how to deal with her, she just kills you. Now, a professional team should be able to make the adjustments, but a challenger team, when they're busy trying to catch up and they're not trying to innovate, they might not be able to do that.
Exactly, because it's two different levels.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's what you pull out a stomp comp for, and I think sometimes there's blurring, right? Sometimes something is new meta. Where like, and I think in our games against High Five, to qualify into the summer split, like, we played some new meta, but our game of double Hunter triple Guardian was just stomp comping.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, clearly running these Guardians works against them. Clearly so let's just take it to the extreme and let's just, you know, do what we need to do to stomp them. And double Hunter triple Guardian played directly into something that they had displayed they could not deal with.
Yeah. So you can sort of play against each. Yeah, I mean, that's it's fun to see how these different things sort of emerge and how much thought goes into it, honestly. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I think that, I mean, it's something I've always known, but not something I've always sort of thought about, which is interesting. It's like, why, like, the sky is blue. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Now think about the sky being blue. That's fucking weird. It's such a weird color. Yeah. What in nature is blue? You know what I mean? And that's sort of like, obviously these guys are pros. Of course there's some sort of thought process going on. But once you like open the window and really look into it, there's so much going on down there that it's very, very cool. Last week we talked a little bit about casters. Again, you can find that on Krett's YouTube. And one of the big points that I left here with as a commentator was give the players the benefit of the doubt that they have done their homework on whatever build they're doing. Yeah. It might be shitty, but they've practiced it. and there's
it's clearly something that works for them. Now, like there are a lot of so Loki, for example, right? Like I've talked at great length in multiple places about like building full pen Loki, right? Heartseeker, boots, all of the mace items, but and it is better than Hydra's Lament. But in a lot of situations, the amount of damage you do with Hydra's Lament, which is like 200 less, which is like 2,050, right? So like a Shibalonki is probably still enough to kill a Shibalonki.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's probably got like 2,000 health. So you're still going to one-shot him. Now, it might not be enough to kill someone with higher base stats. Uller's got like mad crazy base stats, and with his Death Stall still in his build, like he might survive that. So maybe that's the situation where the pen build is better. But like a lot of these situations, pros know what they're doing, and they do most of it by feel, right? Or like people are like, man, how's Bluestone gonna be? And it's like comes down to feel, really.
Yeah.
Whether or not people are gonna use it.
Oh man, I'm gonna derail the conversation.
Okay.
I hate Shadow Q.
I like Shadow Q. What's wrong with Shadow Q?
No, I don't actually. But Homie made a video a while ago about Uller where you can't outrun my bow, or maybe he just linked it.
I think he probably linked it. Is it the one where you realize that you can't outrun my bow is him singing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time I think about Uller, I just think, you can't outrun my bow every goddamn time. And I hate
though.
Shadow Q. I hate Shadow Q. I like how I started that out so like, I hate Shadow Q.
You completely trolled me. I was like, wait, what? We just had a conversation about not being a dick. Eftal, what are you doing?
Dude, I can't deal with it. I really can't. You mentioned Ull and had a lot of good things to say about Bluestone, and I couldn't hear it over, you can't outrun my bow.
You can't.
That's all I heard.
No, it's a good
the entire conversation.
Yeah.
And now chat's being spammed with the absolute perfect, I hate the W icon. It's perfect right now. Shadow King's just trolling me from beyond. He's not even here, and he's trolling me. So, yeah, I mean, Uller just still killing it. But you're right. It does come down to feel a lot of the time. Not just individual items and characters, but also meta and
it also
and
like
team comps.
A lot of the theory crafting stuff behind like optimal builds. First of all, most gods don't have optimal builds. Like people be like, "What's the optimal Luix build?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know. What are you doing with her? What's your what?" Even like if you're like, "Okay, I'm playing ability Luix," it's like, "All right, well, what's your combo?" Right? Mm-hmm. Because it's completely different if you jump in or nah. If you're doing like knock up ult and then hit like flick or whatever the flippy thingy, like
right.
There's not an optimal build for that god. It's like what feels good, and maybe that becomes something optimal, or like whatever performs best. But
and what is your like? I always use this analogy when people say I main a character, right? When they say I main Giannis mid, well, stop maining Giannis mid, because I don't call a carpenter that mains a hammer, right? I call a carpenter that can use all of the tools a carpenter needs to use. So as a mid laner, you need to be able to use all of the tools, you need to be able to use Agnis and Poseidons and Giannis's, etc. Now, you don't need to be great at all of them, but you got to have like a burst mage and a utility mage and a objective mage, whatever have you, right? So you can boil that down even further into gods. You should be able to play Giannis both ways. So when you're building, that's what you think about. You don't think about your character. You think about what your goal is with your current comp against your enemy comp, etc. So there's a lot of other variables that go into it rather than just, this is my dude, I play him the way I play him. So, and a Wheelish is, God, that god is too stupid complex.
Yeah, like, or like Baskin's Vamana build, right? Like,
is that Heartseeker?
It was like Heartseeker, Runeforged, Frostbound with boots and like another thing, and then maybe eventually an Executioner, I think. And like, I don't build Vamana that way. I like Rage Deathbringer. I think that's really good on him. But the way that Baskin builds is like good if you do like auto then you do like the miniature cancel on your dash, so you just knock them up, then you hit your 3 and your 2. Like, it's really good at that.
Yep.
So like different builds, different things. Pro players doing it on feel. That's not part of it, or that's not.
Look at Meerkat getting man defensive already. Solo laners stick together.
They do. It's a good build. Like
it is,
and he's doing it for a good reason. And like Vamana's very. What are you gonna do? Gank Vamana? Like, yo, we gotta clear his Heartseeker stacks. Gank Vamana. Your jungler should be like, what? What the fuck? No.
He's got a Heartseeker. Just gank Vamana, dude. Listen to what you said. All I said was gank Vamana. My bad.
Yeah.
Like that's how that conversation goes. Yep. It's really funny how like Meerkat he just gave the exact combo because there's a delay in the tape. So Meerkat gave the exact combo that you and I are thinking about because he scales well, etc., etc., etc. So I mean it's
yeah.
Solo laners sticking together, man. I love the camaraderie.
Okay, but yeah, so before we wrap, I mean, I guess any last questions, just let's take advantage of this very rare interview with a professional SPL coach. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, we've gone really, really hyper specific and hyper like into some of the deeper things. You know what? I want some surface level stuff, dude. What does it feel like? Because I mean, you guys have a solid fan base too, and that's probably a gross understatement. You guys have a solid fan base, and at the same time, you have these haters that are saying like, they're not that good, they don't win that much, why do you guys have such a boner? And then you come and you kill the only undefeated team, the top team in the US. Like, how are you guys feeling before last week and after last week?
Well, we partied once, and then we invited a bunch of people over and we partied again. And I made chili for chili dogs, and I don't even eat chili, but somehow it turned out okay.
How far away from Atlanta are you guys?
It's like 8 or 9 hours.
I think that
Dare is really good at grilling. Like, you should totally come hang out.
I think Razer should sponsor a trip for a Hi-Rez commentator to come inspect your home to make sure everything is good.
Yeah, the fucking Dan inspection. What even were we talking about when we thought of that? That shit was so good.
The Office Samurai.
Yeah.
We're talking about players with hacks.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a rule in Face It, the Counter-Strike League. If you join Face It, obviously it's never going to happen, but there's a clause in the contract that allows the employees of Face It, which, I mean, it's basically just the commentating staff. So, like, DDK is going to come to your house and, like, look at your computer. It's not going to happen, but, like, technically
but he could.
I want to add that clause into a contract so me and Dan can just show up and be like, all right, guys, you're getting banned unless you make us some cheeseburgers. And Dan just has, like, the kendo stick, and we bring the turtle. Oh! By the way, we have an esports turtle now.
I heard about the turtle before the show. It's pretty hype. I hope there's a turtle reveal.
Me too. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I'll give you guys a picture real quick. Eric the Vincent. Real quick, I'll show you our turtle right now. His name is just Turtle Man, but he has a turtle plan, so we'll figure it out. Oh god, how do you link to a tweet these days? Oh, just click on details. Here you go. So this is our esports turtle right here.
Oh yeah, the other clause is that anytime Dan can break into your house and make you do a piss test. Definitely needs to be in the contract.
Dan can do that one by himself. I will just show up for the cheeseburgers.
No, you'll just come in and check to make sure that the food isn't like artificially enhanced with HGH or something.
Pretty much.
That's right.
So we've got our turtle man. He is part of the esports staff now. He is. I don't know if he's Hi-Rez Turtle or just Turtle. We'll have to talk to him independently on what he wants to be called, but we'll definitely grow with the turtle.
All right, guys. Well, we got a turtle. We've had a show, interview with a professional coach. Pretty cool. Never done that before.
Never.
And we talked about players being BM. Pretty cool. We've never done that before. We've done that like 5 times, man.
Pretty much. Well,
People are so BM. All right, guys, thanks for coming out. That's our show. Oh, wait, self-promotion. We should self-promote a little bit. I have something to self-promote.
Do it.
Tomorrow on my channel, twitch.tv/Kretuhtuh with the T-U-H-T-U-H, which is, that's my YouTube, but you can find it at Twitch too. I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm running a tabletop game at 2 Eastern, playing with a bunch of people, and you can watch in the office. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. It's a diceless system. It's based in New York City. It's about magic, and
basically everything that I think is cool.
Yeah. So you guys should come out and watch. I've already got my people picked.
I'm so salty.
And we're going to be using Roll20. We're going to be playing at 2 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Kretuhtuh. Hopefully, people really like it, because I want to do it once a week. Role-playing is something I'm really passionate about. I don't think people really know that. And, yeah, that too.
RP nerd.
Dude, I LARPed in college. That shit was mad fun. It was mad fun, dude.
Krett's a LARPer.
No. Let me tell you. No. You're not a LARPer until you LARP outside of college.
That's it. Thank you for joining us on Really. We'll catch you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. EDT. Peace.
Peace.